Chapter 1 Episode 11, Arriving in Gimul. 3 days later after the landslide, the journey progressed without incident. Because I was constantly with someone these past few days, my speech had gradually grown more fluent. They told me I was still a little stiff with my words, but there was no problem understanding what I meant, and we were finally arriving at our destination of Gimul town. We're here. This is the town of Gimul. So this is Gimul. It was a peaceful town surrounded by tall outer walls and lots of greenery. That was the first impression I received. It was a little smaller than the town of Caliban we visited before, but that just made it seem calmer. I was told that the mines were nearby and the steel industry was the main source of livelihood, so I had imagined more bustle, but this was good in its own way. However, according to what Reinhardt said on the way, the production of iron had dwindled in recent years, making one of the objectives of this trip to inspect and determine whether the mines should be closed from lack of profit. Although, the way Reinhardt had stated, there's more than one mine, so there shouldn't be a large impact on the town for at least another 10 years, made it sound like the mine's closure was practically finalized already. Maybe he didn't think it was a topic to be sharing with a child. Well, the mining output had been practically zero for 3 years now. It seemed like the only condition for avoiding closure was to find a new vein of ore. All the miners of that particular mine had already stopped working there since last year. It made sense that they'd prefer to work somewhere with results, especially if it involved their income. All right, let's leave our things at the inn, then head to the Tamers Guild for registration. The Tamers Guild was an establishment where tamers and summoners, the two types of spellcasters that could control monsters, were able to register in order to receive jobs and information services. It also assisted in finding accommodation for tamers who lived with their familiars and purchasing cheap familiar food for affiliated members. There were similar places, like the Adventurers Guild, Magic Guild, and Merchants Guild, but the Tamers Guild had far fewer members in comparison due to public fear of tamer familiars. Thus, the scale of the guild was inevitably smaller and had fewer branches, although there was one in this town to fill the demand for transporting goods from the mines. Well, according to Elise, anyway. She was in a very good mood today, humming a song as she held both my and Ilyaria's hand as we walked, having just dropped our belongings at the inn. But there was something bothering me. How much information should I give the guild? The submission of information is up to the person who first made the discovery, so as much as you're comfortable with is fine. Well, in that case, just the evolution conditions of a slime and the way to contract a big slime, then. I'll also register the 2 new species of slime. You'll keep the use of sticky slime solution a secret. Yes, if it's going to be used to sell waterproof cloth, then we don't want imitations circulating. That's true. Our plan was to head to the Tamers Guild as soon as we were done talking, but Rainbox stepped in before that. You haven't been to the church yet, have you, Ryoma? In that case, shouldn't you go get your status numbers disclosed by the church first? At those words, both Reinhardt and Elise were reminded of what to do first. Apparently, the church distributed status boards, tools that could be used to view one's own stats and make registering for guilds go more smoothly. For example, the condition to register for the Tamers Guild was the ability to use taming or summoning magic, so having the status board display that would allow for instant approval. Without a status board, you would be made to wait until an official was available to witness you make a contract with a previously prepared slime before you could register. And so, with that change of plans, we first headed for the Church of Creationism in Gimul instead. For the record, the slimes were waiting back at the inn. It would be one thing if we were just going to the Tamers Guild, but alas, at the church, we were greeted by an elderly woman with a gentle smile, dressed in a nun's habit. Welcome to the church. Are you here to pray today? We'd like to get a status board issued for this child. Some peculiar circumstances have prevented him from obtaining one before now. I will be in your care? In that case, please come this way. I shall lead you to the baptism room. It was forbidden for anyone else to enter the baptism room, so I said my temporary farewells with everyone before following the sister through the church. This way. Excuse me. In the room I was led to, there was a pedestal with a round crystal like I had seen at the office in Caliban town. It looked exactly the same at a glance, apart from the pedestal being palm-sized with a vertically long rectangular recess. This will be your status board. Once slotted into the pedestal, the baptism will be completed with a touch of the crystal. There will be a bright light when you touch the crystal, but you can rest assured that it will not harm you. I understand. The woman showed me a transparent board before slotting it into the pedestal and walking to the opposite side. Go ahead and touch the crystal. Okay. Slightly nervous, I slowly touched the crystal. The next moment, a strong light filled the room like when I first came to this world, making me squeeze my eyes shut against the brightness. The light passed through my eyelids, making it red until it gradually faded. Once the light faded, I opened my eyes to see a room that wasn't before me a moment ago. There was no mistaking it. I would never forget. This was the room where the gods Ryoma. Over here. Behind you. The voices that reached me through my days made me turn around to see the three gods that had sent me to this world. They were standing as though they had been waiting for me. The fact that they were here meant that this had to be that place. Gain, Kyufo, Loloshia, have I died again? No, you're fine. We've just pulled your spirit here for a bit. You'll regain consciousness before long. Time will remain the same too. I didn't think we'd be able to meet you again either, but after you pray to our stone statues in your forest home every day, you shut yourself away in the forest for 3 years, doing nothing but training and research. No. It's because you were self-sufficient with your meals and ate simply, resulting in a lifestyle that was similar to priesthood training. Really? You've actually met us before, so you believed in our existence from the bottom of your heart. And you prayed to us every day for 3 years. That was more than enough to fulfill the conditions to bestow the oracle skill on you during baptism. We'll be able to talk to you just a little, though from now on, too. I see. At any rate, I'm glad to see you all again. That was the one thing I wanted to say. I had been thinking a lot about what I would say once I could talk to them again, but nothing came to mind at the moment. The same goes for us. You came to the church like you promised. You 100k like you're having fun in your new life. We watched you the whole time, but there was never a dull moment. We never imagined you'd stay in the forest for 3 years, though. It feels short to us, but that isn't the case for humans, no. Above all, while that forest is comparatively safer, it still has its dangers. We assumed you would only stay for a year at most. At that, the three of them wore strained smiles. You used all the skill and magic at your hands to create an environment that you could live in modestly for 3 years or more, if you so desired. That house looked simple, but it was actually amazingly well made. It was extremely safe, spacious, and clean. You had assembled impressive facilities too. Especially your bathtub, which are only for the wealthy class in this world. And your toilet, which may possibly be the cleanest you can find in this world. Even we hadn't imagined your slime research to result in such a way. There were barely any who researched slimes of their own initiative, after all. Those 2 species in particular were a surprise, the cleaner and scavenger ones. Those were new species, you know. 0-0H, so they really were the tamer family I met by coincidence. Said they didn't know of them, so they's what I presumed. Indeed. Slimes were originally created by me, but all I did was give them adaptability to their surroundings and the ability to multiply. The potential for evolution was infinite after that. However, they were just so weak the other animals kept exterminating them until they just stopped developing after a few new species appeared. Now, it's like the land environment decides which slime appears. Even I had forgotten that new species of slimes could be born. This is truly marvelous. Was slime research really that lacking? Even I, the creator of slimes, had forgotten. I would wager to say that you're even more knowledgeable than me about slimes now. Even if it was only limited to slimes, having more knowledge than a god sounds, but you still have many thoughts about slimes, no? I took a peek at your research, but you've thought of things I never even considered. In the first place, gods aren't almighty beings. We each have our strengths and weaknesses. And sometimes that may lead to us being surprised by those who live in the worlds we watch over. For example, as gods, we cannot be harmed by humans. But if you were to punch us here, we'd be beaten up easily. We don't have combat skills, after all. We can use our divine powers to protect ourselves by causing all your blows to miss, but we cannot best you in a technical fight. A god that specialized in war wouldn't lose, though. Really now? That was news to me. Well, humans do hold this certain image about gods. But more than anything, I'm glad you're having fun. Who would have imagined you'd end up associated with that family? Did they know the people of House of Gimul? Well, they were gods, so that shouldn't be a surprise. Based on your words just now, is there something special about those people? From the view of a god, and not social rank. Loloshia answered my question. Their ancestors are otherworlders we sent from Earth. Is that true, Phup? She was a good girl. She wanted to become an animal trainer and didn't seem to understand the situation very well, so we ended up granting her wish of controlling animals before sending her here. Was that taming magic, by any chance? That's half correct. There was a similar skill already at the time. She studied that skill and combined it with the power we gave her to create taming magic. After perfecting taming magic, her achievements earned a noble rank from the king. She was fairly popular for her beauty, and she went on to fall in love with another noble and marry him. Ever since, her bloodline has had generations of honorable tamers. Not to mention in the Jamil family, Rainbach has my protection, Reinhardt has Kufos, and Elise has Loloshias bestowed. And the young Illyria inherited otherworlder traits that skipped generations in her ancestry. Of course we would know of them. We check on them second to only you. So the young miss has talent for taming magic. She has the talent, but that girl has inherited much more than just taming magic. Her tamer potential comes from her father's bloodline. The reason why her blood is so strong is because of a different otherworlder on her mother's side of the family. This one was your classic otaku. He originally hated exercise, so he completely gave up on martial arts and put everything he had into magic. And unlike Ryoma, he also wished to be powerful at it, so his magical force and firing speed was tremendous. Because of that, he took a while to learn all of the magics. Self-restraint wasn't a term in his dictionary, Thais for sure. His one saving grace was that he never committed any evil, since he was such a coward. I shouldn't be saying this as the one who gave him the power, but we were pretty nervous right up until he died. Just how amazing was this otherworlder? Well, whatever. From what I've heard, there are quite a few otherworlders. Will I ever meet any? We only ever bring one person over at a time when we take Earth's magic energy. The shortest gap between which is 200 years, so there shouldn't be multiple otherworlders in a single time period. Although we have brought people over during emergencies, like when magic depletion intensifies during times of war. But normally, it wouldn't happen. There are no large wars ongoing right now, so we probably won't need to within your lifetime. If you want to know more about otherworlders, search for their books. The majority of them had high-level or unique skills because of our divine powers, so many of them ended up in fairy tales and legends as heroes. For example, the war happened in the same period as the mighty magician on Illyria's mother's side, so we brought another one over and they were both known as heroes. Other than that, there's a folk tale of one arrogant fellow who was treated as a demon king and defeated. You've heard of the alchemy king on your journey, yeah, when we were talking about alchemy. The alchemy king was an otherworlder too. That's right. An extremely infuriating one at that. He wanted alchemy as his bonus for being transferred, but when we said it didn't exist in the other world, he demanded we create it. The title of the alchemy king was something he insisted his subordinates call him, too. He was just that full of himself. It was hopeless trying to deal with him, so I just made something up. So the reason why alchemy is strangely easy to use is indeed, it was because I threw it together. I knew it. I thought it was too simple, just drawing a magic circle and placing the materials on it before passing magic energy through the circle while thinking of the separated components. All the other magics needed energy control and adjustments, so it was odd. I didn't want to waste time listening to his selfish demands. No matter how free we may be, being idle is much more preferable to insufferable company. While I agree with that part, still it's actually fairly difficult for the people of this world, you know. This world has none of the knowledge Earth has of the chemical elements. The Alchemy King was a student on Earth, so he had no trouble reaping the rewards, but that was the golden age of alchemy. Barely anyone has been able to reproduce it afterward. The Alchemy King was especially obsessed with gold and profit, so he never taught anyone else the knowledge and skills up until his death. Modern alchemists are just the sad remains of the Alchemy King's actions. So that's why that otherworlder sure was a free spirit, but you're on the more docile side of otherworlders we've brought here. It may feel like you're being swept along by events, but that's not the case. You're still making decisions about yourself by yourself, following your own rules, and trying new things of your own will. You're a very desirable type of otherworlder to not only us, but this world of Sealfall too. Why is that? Hee. We're still gods, after all. We have to sound divine sometimes. Oh, is that a fact? There's no need to think too deeply. Even if you live your previous life being swept along by others, that doesn't mean it's still happening here. And going with the flow isn't always a bad thing anyway. As long as life is fun, that should be enough, don't you think? That's true. Yeah. Thanks. Don't worry about it. We're gods, giving advice is a simple task. You're our source of fun too, so it's a token of our gratitude. It seems like you've reached your limit over here, too. That was just a little advice from us before you leave. Thank you. Unfortunately, I wasn't very eloquent in my previous life, so this is all I can say. Really, 4 feelings have been conveyed. We're all watching over you. The other gods have been sneaking some looks too, lately. Huh? Other gods. The astounding words made my eyes widen greatly. There was the god of war and god of magic, which was rare for those otherworlder haters. We're the only ones who watch you frequently, but all kinds of gods have taken a look at you when the mood strikes. No one warned me of that. There's nothing you have to do, so it's fine. But the god of skill and craft has bestowed their protection on you. It's nothing bad, so you can relax. It appears he's taken a liking to your drinking habits from your previous life. He's also the god of wine, after all. You didn't seem to have much fun drinking, but he praised you for the amount you downed. He also said the drunken fist you were practicing was a rather amusing form of martial arts. Drunken fist? I sometimes imitated what I saw in movies back in the forest. He was watching. I didn't think anyone would like that. Never know what will happen in life. Well, the background we prepared for you did have you raised by your grandfather, who was a dwarf. Tekken, the god of wine, is mostly worshipped by the dwarves, so that part fits perfectly. True, I guess it wouldn't be suspicious that way. It'll be fine. Now, it looks like this will be all for now. Time is really up. Right, we had been chatting easily when time had run out before I knew it. The light started glowing around me once more. Even though we finally met again, don't look so disappointed. We can talk again for short periods of time whenever you come to the church, and we should be able to meet like this again too. Although this result was a little unexpected. I see. See you later, then. Yup, later. You truly are interesting. We'll be watching over you until the next time we meet again. Gain said as a soft light filled my vision, and when I opened my eyes again I was back in the baptism room of the church with a sister. That was quite some light. They say the brighter the light, the more loved by the gods you are, so you may have been blessed with the protection of one of the gods. Please check your status board for it later. Like Gain had said, it appeared that time had been frozen here. But wasn't she going to ask about the protections? Thank you very much. Aren't you going to ask about the protections? The protection is something bestowed by the gods, so the only ones who have a right to know are you and the god who bestowed it. If you have any questions, I will answer to the best of my ability, but I will not ask anything myself. Also, it's normal to hide everything on your status board other than your name, age, and race. It's personal information, after all. To hide any displayed information, all you have to do is think it in your head. Please give it a go. I looked at the information displayed on the status board. Name, Ryoma Takebayashi. Gender, male. Age, 11. Race, human. Physical energy, 11,052. Magical energy, 198,000. Everyday skills: housekeeping 10, etiquette 7, performance 3, singing 3, calculation 5. Combat skills: unarmed combat 7, sword mastery 7, dagger mastery 6, hidden weapon mastery 7, spear mastery 4, bow mastery 6, staff mastery 6, chain weapon mastery 4, throwing weapon mastery 7, stealth 7, trapping 6, body control 6, energy meditation 5. Magic skills: taming magic 2, barrier magic 2, healing magic 1, alchemy 2, fire magic 3, water magic 3, wind magic 2, earth magic 4, neutral magic 3, lightning magic 1, ice magic 2, poison magic 2, wood magic 3, light magic 2, dark magic 1, space magic 3, magic detection 3, magic control 4, magic recovery speed 2. Crafting skills: medicine 6, blacksmithing 1, architecture 3, woodworking 3, modeling 4, painting 4. Resistance skills: physical pain resistance 8, mental pain resistance 9, health 7, stench resistance 3. Special skills: oracle 3, survival arts 5, life enhancement 3, super recovery 3, stamina enhancement 6. Titles: rise from below, overcame an unhappy life, beloved child of God's apprentice of the sage, apprentice of the god of military arts. Protections: protection of Gain the creator, protection of Kyufo, god of life, protection of Lulushia, goddess of love, protection of Tekken, god of wine. I had learned that magic energy would go up with regular use before transferring here, but it looked like several skills had leveled up too. And now that I looked at it again, there really was a lot of magic skills. The apprentice titles were a balance of the skill levels that had been written in the letter when I first came to this world. I had protections from the 3 gods and the wine god Tekken. For now, I should hide everything except my name, age, and race there. I'm done. Then I shall lead you to the room where your companions are waiting. We can discuss the details where they can listen, too. At the woman's prompting, we left the room. That was when I heard voices from outside. Wait. Wait up. Ah ha ha ha. I'm over here. When I looked in the direction of the voices, I saw some children in worn-out clothing playing outside the window. Those are the children being taken care of by the church. They are always full of energy and play outside like that once their chores are done. I didn't know if they were orphans or there because of family circumstances, but whatever. Now, let's go. Thus, I was led to a room where the ducal house and Sabas were all waiting expectantly. Sorry for the wait, the baptism has been completed without issue. Thank you for waiting, everyone. If that is all, then I will be leaving here. Feel free to use this room until you wish to leave. Thank you very much. You're welcome. Now, if you would excuse me. Immediately after we met up, the woman departed. I watched her leave the room and close the door behind her. Mr. Reinhardt, why did she look like she was in such a hurry to leave? The status board has personal information, after all. She was being considerate. This is a room prepared for people to discuss the contents of their status board with their family in secret. Really? Yes. One should not reveal it carelessly. It used to be illegal to hide your information, but as more people used the contents for malicious purposes, it became commonplace to keep it confidential. You can get the general gist of someone's past from their skills, and for a fighter it would be disadvantageous to reveal your fighting style. Even your magic and physical strength is directly related to your power, so nowadays you would only show the people you trust. The same goes for protections, for similar reasons. All you reveal is your name, age, and race, and some choose to display their titles too. I see. That's why you have to make sure you keep yours a secret, okay? You can ask us if there's anything you don't understand, but you don't have to tell us anything you don't want to. All these people were truly kind-hearted. I'll decide what to tell them later. I understand. Once I gave that answer, Rainbach nodded in satisfaction and continued speaking with a serious 100K. Now, Ryoma. Now that you've received your status board, there's one thing I'd like to say. What is that? It's about your abilities. Based on what we've seen until now, your abilities are extremely refined compared to other children your age. Because of that, you will be approached by many bad people. If you want to avoid that, you must either hide your powers or quickly earn status to protect yourself. However, in your case, your abilities are so strong they will be difficult to hide. That's why you should register with a guild quickly, in order to obtain status. I'm talking about the ranks within guilds, to be precise. If something happens, we will lend you our strength, but you yourself need to be aware. In your case, your abilities are so disproportionate with your age, it's obvious that you have a god's protection. Depending on which one, you may seriously be targeted. I hadn't really been keeping an eye on it myself, but was it really that strange? I hadn't even gone all out in front of them yet. I'll be careful. That was when Illyria started glancing at me again, like before. I wasn't doing anything in particular right now. Maybe she wanted to ask something? Is something the matter? Hull. No, you just looked like you had something to say. Well, after I said that, Illyria hesitated for a moment before answering honestly. Actually, I was curious about Ryoma's magic energy. My magic energy? The other day, I watched you use so much magic, yet you said you were nowhere near running out. When I asked Father, he said a normal person would have collapsed already, so I was wondering how much magic energy you had. If it was to these people, then it should be fine to disclose my magic energy. Considering how they had already seen me use enough magic to knock a normal person out, there was no point in hiding it. I used it in a similar way when I was in the forest, but oh, that must be why they told me to hide it. That reaffirmed my understanding. When I checked just now, it said 198,000. At my answer, the members of the Duke's family widened their eyes a little, and Illyria looked a little conflicted. But, that was all. This was a weaker reaction than I expected. 198,000. So Ryoma can use that many magics with that much magic energy. That's because the more energy you have, the more magic you can use. No, that's not what I mean. I'm talking about the fact you can use magic properly. Properly? Am I mistaken? Our conversation seemed rather disjointed, and Illyria turned to Sabas with a troubled look for help. Is it possible that Master Ryoma is unaware of the side effects of large magic energy? Side effects? Such a thing exists. At my answer, Illyria was taken aback while Sabas and the other adults looked like they had expected as much. When I asked them to clarify, first they explained that having more magic energy was a huge advantage to using magic. That was for sure. However, when there was too much magic energy within the body, it made it harder to control and learn to use magic. Apparently, even trying to use just a little magic could cause the magic energy to come rushing out like a broken tap. Even a normal magician needed training to hold back their magic energy, so more training was needed for greater amounts. Now that they mentioned it, something did come to mind. When I first used Break Rock after coming to this world, it was all I could do to make a hole the size of my finger. I hadn't noticed at first because I was happy to see results at all, but without proper control over the magic energy leaving the body, it would scatter everywhere. When that happened, the effect of the magic weakened. In other words, the magic energy back then was being discharged with only a small amount going into the magic effect. I figured that out as I continued to use magic, and with more use I learned to control it. Once I became able to maintain my magic energy, the effects of the spells grew dramatically with the same energy cost. After improving that for 3 years, I was able to use magic like back at the landslide. The same earth magic as back then could now be used with more power and freedom. For me, it was only natural to be unable to use magic, so there was no particular sense of difficulty, only growth. In reality, all I had done was grow, but for the people of this world, a child using a tremendous amount of magic without problem meant they had either trained a lot or were extremely talented. It was a bit strange to think of myself that way, though. Well, I get it now at least. I didn't have anyone to compare myself with until now, so I didn't realize. The fact that Ryoma can use magic so easily is an amazing thing, you know. Even though I'm the same age, I can't use magic very well too. I actually have 200,000 magic energy. 200. That was more than me. Well, no wonder the adults didn't react much. Come to think of it, Gain and the others had mentioned how strongly she had inherited the blood of her otherworlder ancestor, a mighty magician. It all made sense. So that's why she kept glancing at me. She had been interested in how I could use magic so easily, while having nearly as much magic energy as her. Everything makes sense now. I'm glad to hear that. I've never met anyone with as much magic energy as me before. To be honest, I was curious as to how much magic you could use, as well as how you learned them so well, but it was hard to ask. How about I show you all the magic-related entries on my status board? I want to know how much myself. I manipulated the newly created status board to only display my magic skills for everyone. You have an impressive range of magics, and they are all high level for your age. I heard you had all the elements, but seeing it in reality is all the lower are over level 2, and there are a few middle elements at level 2 and 3. There's plenty. Your earth and space magic is especially high level. I've heard that space magic is hard to level. You did well getting it that high. You may even surpass me in the future. You even have the skills for magic detection, control, and recovery speed. I used magic to survive in the forest, so I was using it pretty much every day. Fire and water for cooking and bathing, earth and space for hunting. Did you ever use attack spells? No, I normally used my bow and traps to hunt. I can use fireball, but it burns meat and makes it inedible. I used earth needle to set spikes at the bottom of pitfall traps. I see, so you've only used magic for living to level your skills until now. In that case, it would be good to learn some attack spells, too. There's no demerits to knowing them, and there are the rare monsters that can only be affected by magic. So such monsters existed. Wait, that was typical of a monster from light novels about other worlds. I had been living as a recluse for so long, I completely forgot. Better start learning attack spells from now on. You're right, I'd like to try that. The lower elemental magics are comparatively easier to learn, so you should be able to use intermediate difficulty spells with your current level. You seem to have plenty of magic energy, so you may be able to use advanced ones with earth magic. Ryoma has lots of magic energy too, so if he holds back his consumption with his magic control, he'll be able to increase his recovery speed even more. Which means even more practice can be done in a day. It's extremely beneficial for a magician, so don't let that talent go to waste. FFES, I'll work hard. Once I finally understood how much of an exception I was outside of the forest, the voice of Illyria still looking at my status board silently reached my ears. Ryoma trained his magic by continuously using his magic in his daily life. If I did that, my magic would also, even if you don't use it in your daily life, if you play around with it in your free time, you'll get it. Play around. She seemed motivated, so I told her what I did in the forest, but that was received with a weird look. Don't you generally try all kinds of things out with basic magic? I do not. Practice always involves releasing the decided magic accurately. Magic skill is directly linked to the security of one's income and lifestyle, so you don't hear about people playing around with it. For example, fire magic is used in blacksmiths and steel mills, places with strong heat. Ice and space magic is used at restaurants to preserve and transport food. Earth and wood magic is used in architecture and farming, and other industries like that. So if you're good at one of them, your chance of employment and promotion over others increases. I see. I knew it wasn't forbidden for any religious reasons, but magic was generally treated like food. That's why playing around with magic seemed to feel like a waste of magic energy, I guess. Which meant it was bad. Just as the thought popped into my head, the three adults backed me up. Play with magic. It's not something you hear often, but you should try it if you're interested, Elia. That's right. Even if you use a little to play around, since it's Elia, there'll still be plenty of magic energy left for normal lessons too. Wouldn't it be good as a break from training too? I wondered if it was okay to treat it so lightly, but Illyria did have a lot of magic energy. A little shouldn't hurt. Most importantly, it was a suggestion I made just after showing my magic skills, so they would probably place their bets on it. All I was told was that they needed to check if it was safe, which was a given. In which case, I could teach the young lady how to play with magic myself. But we were in the church right now, so it wasn't the right time or place for that. If there's a chance in the future, I'll teach you a little. Really? I would love that. Illyria grabbed my hand happily. It really was nothing more than a basic magic any magician could use, but seeing her this happy made me feel good too. Now, shall we get going? We've discussed all there is to discuss here, and there's still more to do. Like Reinhardt said, we still had to go register at the guild. Having been reminded of that, we all put the church behind us and headed for the Tamers Guild.